Okay, so we're going to tie this guy. This is a micro jig, a balance jig. It's a size 12. Um, this is a modern day version of what I call Trout Candy. 20 years ago when I was guiding the green in Utah, we had these Trout Candy jigs back behind the desk, behind the counter, which are like size 12. They're pink jig heads, very, very similar to this guy. We've just used modern material now with this tungsten bead and balanced leech or balanced technique. So I'll show you every bit of this and hang on tight. So let's show you how to tie it. Okay, so we're gonna start with a Firehole size 12, 551. See the 45-degree jig there. And then what I have done is I have taken this literal, can't see that very well. These are brad nails, but they're marketed as balanced leech pins or something like that. So I took one of those and I cut it with some wire cutters so that it was about the length of the hook. So you can see that there. And I'm going to take this 3.0 pink tungsten bead, slide it on. Oh, you missed that. Let me do that for you again where you can see it. So 3.0 tungsten bead, I'm going to stick it in that pin, let that slide down like so. And then I want to give myself a little bit of room over the eye of that hook. And then I'm just going to use my thread to anchor that down. This thread is nanosilk. You get the point. Semperfly nanosilk. This particular one. Let me see if I can give you a better shot of that. I'm struggling here, guys. There you go. 6/0 nanosilk. That's the one. Okay, so I want to get this anchored on there fairly tightly. Sometimes I'll put super glue on that base thread, but I'm pulling pretty hard. I'm actually pulling that hook up and down to my jaw of my vise. So I got a good base there. Now you want to watch that little edge because that will cut your line. So I'm going to come in front of that. This is where I'm going to tie in the first component, which is just good old strung Maribou. We're going to make a tail out of this stuff. So I've choked up on that tuft quite a bit. I'm going to measure that out so it's no longer than the shank of the hook. And I'm going to give it a couple of pretty mellow wraps. Okay, if that tail is where I want it, and I kind of made a mess of that one. That tail is where I want it, which is about where, yeah, I like that one. Then what I want to do here is I'm going to trim it off at about where the end of that nail ends. And that way I can build up a base of thread and it takes up some of that gap that was there. I lost some of those fibers. That's okay. So that's a pretty good tail. And wrap a base down. Now I want a little hot spot right here. So I'm going to come up just a little bit before I tie in. That tail rolled on me a little bit. So I'm just going to manipulate that, have it come over the top. That's better. This next is going to be this polar chenille from it's micro UV polar chenille from Hairline. I'm going to use that for my body. So I'm going to come in and tie this guy in. Remember, I'm tying it a little bit ahead so I have that hot spot that's still there. Anchor that down and move that forward to where the bend is. And then I'm just going to wrap it. Sometimes you got to double wrap it, especially when your bottom layer is red. And what you're using is this stuff because we don't want any red to show through. At the end of the day, does that really matter? Don't think so. But most flies are tied to catch fishermen, not fish. This is an exception. These guys fish really well. As I said in the description, this was a Green River go-to for me back in the day. A little vice slip there, not a big deal, it happens to all of us. And I'm going to tie that off and cut it off. So now we have our body, we have our hot spot, and now I want to build up a base of thread here and start moving towards the eye of the hook. Because next up is we're going to tie in a tuft of pink Maribou. So get started with that. This is literally just pink Maribou. And I'm going to choke up on this stuff. So again, we have got all even ends. And I want to tie it in there about the same length as the white. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to come over to the, I'm trying to stuff 2 feathers in here and it's not, okay. So I'm going to come over to the opposite side of the hook to start, and then I'm going to do one kind of light wrap, second light wrap, and then I want to spin that stuff underneath so it's on the bottom. That way, when you fish this, it's a jig, it's going to actually flip over and the pink will be on top when it's actually being fished. So I'll pull that up, trim that off, nice and close to that bead because we want a little bit of bulk riding behind that bead to lock it into place. And here's where you earn your reps. And come in here and kind of manipulate those around a little bit. I like this thread because it's nice and covers a lot of area without a lot of bulk, which is awesome. See, I've got a nice head going on there. And let's get that bead nice and anchored. We've done that. So we are officially ready to whip finish this guy before we apply the eyeballs. Good whip finish. You can see my vice slipped again there. Renzetti here. No, this is a Regal. Kind of slips on me sometimes. So that's not very even over on this side. So I'm going to drag some of those fibers over. When that's wet, and that's going to look amazing. Now the eyeballs are living eyes. These are 5 milliliter. And here's what they look like. And these are literally stickers that I'm going to put here on the opposite side. Kind of time consuming, kind of a pain in the butt, but they look cool. Stick one there. And over to that opposite side. Stick one there. Probably you can get your kids to do that. And then we're going to epoxy, and we're going to do some resin on this guy. So without knocking those eyeballs off, I want a nice glob, nice dollop there, and a nice dollop back here. And another dollop up on top. That'll form a nice little head. Hit it with your light. As you can see, opposite side, I wasn't perfect. This side looks pretty good, but that is the modern day version of Trout Candy, Green River, Slump Buster, whatever you want to call it. I like this bug.